The Ghostly Hitchhiker, a terrifying road trip. On a moonless night, the highway stretched like an abyss, enveloped in darkness and silence. Jake, a thrill-seeking traveler, was on a solo road trip to explore the eerie legends that surrounded the desolate countryside. He was intrigued by tales of a ghostly hitchhiker who haunted this very road, and tonight, he hoped to witness the supernatural firsthand. As Jake drove along, his heart skipped a beat when he noticed a figure standing by the side of the road. The woman's ethereal beauty was captivating, her long black hair cascading over her shoulders like a shroud. Despite the unsettling legends, he couldn't resist the allure of the mysterious lady. Rolling down the window, he offered her a ride. "Need a lift?" The woman turned her head slowly, and her eyes bore into his soul. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice sending shivers down his spine. As they drove, the woman's demeanor grew stranger by the minute. She spoke of past accidents that had occurred on the road, hinting that she may have been involved in them. But Jake's skepticism outweighed his fear, and he couldn't help but feel like he was being pranked. As they continued their eerie journey, the lady's laughter grew more unnerving, echoing through the confines of the car like a haunting melody. "You don't believe in ghosts, do you?" she taunted once more, her voice now tinged with a chilling edge. Jake tried to maintain his composure, but the woman's words began to chip away at his skepticism. "Look, this is all just a prank, right? I know you're trying to scare me, but it's not working," he said, attempting to mask the unease that gnawed at him. The woman's laughter intensified, her eyes glinting with an eerie light. "Oh, you think this is a prank?" she retorted, her voice dropping to a haunting whisper. "I assure you, there's more to this night than you could ever fathom." A shiver ran down Jake's spine, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was no longer playing a game. Her demeanor had shifted, and a sense of foreboding washed over him like an icy wave. With each passing mile, the woman's stories grew more disturbing. She spoke of spirits that roamed the highway, seeking vengeance against those who had wronged them. Her words painted vivid images of ghostly figures lurking in the shadows, watching and waiting. "We are never truly alone on this road," she whispered, her voice laden with an otherworldly quality. "The spirits of the forgotten, the lost, they're always here, haunting the living." Despite his attempts to dismiss her words as part of the prank, Jake found himself glancing nervously into the rearview mirror, half expecting to see ghostly figures following their every move. As they approached the old church, the woman's insistence on stopping filled Jake with apprehension. "I don't think it's a good idea to go in there," he said, trying to steer the conversation away from the haunting tales. But the woman's eyes blazed with determination, and she remained undeterred. "It's important, trust me," she replied cryptically. Reluctantly, Jake followed her into the dimly lit church. The air felt heavy, laden with the weight of history and the unknown. Shadows danced on the crumbling walls, creating an eerie dance of light and darkness. Inside the church, the woman's demeanor changed once more, her voice now trembling with fear. "It's here, they're here," she stammered, her gaze fixed on a dusty corner. The hairs on Jake's neck stood on end, and a creeping sensation slithered down his spine. The atmosphere felt charged with an energy he couldn't comprehend, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. "They're angry," the woman whimpered, her hand tightening around Jake's arm. "They know we're here." In that moment, the oppressive energy in the church felt tangible, and Jake's skepticism wavered. The woman's fear seemed genuine, and he couldn't ignore the strange sensations that engulfed him. Just as the wind outside picked up, extinguishing the candles, the church plunged into darkness. Jake's breath caught in his throat as panic threatened to overwhelm him. In the pitch-black silence, he felt a presence, an otherworldly force that seemed to envelop him. His heart pounded in his chest, and he dared not move. Suddenly, the candles flickered back to life, revealing a horrifying sight. The woman's eyes widened in terror, and she clutched Jake's arm, her nails digging into his skin. "They're here," she whispered, her voice quivering with a blend of fear and disbelief. But Jake couldn't dismiss the uneasy feeling in his gut any longer. He had played along with the prank, but now he realized that something inexplicable was unfolding before him. In a chilling moment of clarity, he understood that the woman's fear was real. The haunting tales she had spun were not mere pranks, but echoes of a harrowing truth. As he turned to face her, his heart sank. The woman's eyes widened in shock and terror as she realized the horrifying revelation staring back at her. His eyes, once filled with life and curiosity, were now empty voids, black as the darkest night. The woman's voice trembled as she finally spoke the words Jake dreaded to hear. "You're not real, are you?" Jake's heart sank, and he felt the ground beneath him shift. He had thought he was the one playing the game, but now he realized he was merely a pawn in a supernatural deception. "I died on this road," the woman continued, her voice choked with emotion. "I've been trapped here for eternity, haunting hitchhikers like you." "No," Jake whispered, his mind struggling to accept the truth. "I can't be a ghost." But as the woman reached out to touch him, her hand passed through his arm, confirming his worst fears. He was a ghost, bound to the very road he had sought to explore. As the realization sank in, the church seemed to shift and waver. Jake's mind blurred between memories of his past and the haunting truth of his present existence. He had died in a tragic accident on this very road, and now he was doomed to relive the fateful night over and over again. In a chilling moment of clarity, Jake understood that the woman had been trying to save him from his own haunting fate. She had been warning him about the vengeful spirits that sought to ensnare his soul, just as they had done to hers. But the forces of the supernatural were relentless, and the cycle of torment was unbreakable. With each passing moment, the church faded away, leaving Jake suspended in a void of darkness. As the car continued its journey on the lonely highway, the woman's terrified screams echoed in the darkness. But there was no escape for either of them. Meanwhile, the lady's crew members anxiously awaited her return at their designated meeting point. Hours passed, and with growing concern, they set out to find her. As they approached the car parked at the side of the road, a chilling sight awaited them. The lady's lifeless body slumped in the driver's seat, her eyes wide with terror. But there was no sign of the hitchhiker who had vanished without a trace. The crew members were unable to comprehend the nightmarish events that had unfolded. They couldn't explain the lady's death, nor the eerie disappearance of the hitchhiker. Little did they know that the legend of the ghostly hitchhiker would continue to haunt the road for generations to come. Witnesses would recount stories of encountering a phantom figure on moonless nights, a spectral presence that seemed trapped between worlds. As for Jake, he was condemned to an eternity of reliving that fateful road trip, haunted by the knowledge of his own demise. The truth of his existence was a harrowing reminder that the boundary between life and death was far more fragile than anyone could imagine. And so, the ghostly hitchhiker's legend would persist, serving as a warning to those who dared to journey down the desolate highway on moonless nights, and a haunting testament to the unseen forces that lie beyond the realm of the living.